Good morning guys, and welcome back to my channel. So as a follow-up to my most recent video, which was Instagram deciding your favorite perfumes, we now have Instagram deciding your most hated perfumes. So I did put out another poll and I asked people to tell me which perfumes they disliked the most. Honestly, so many more people answered this question. I feel like it's more of a hot, juicy topic, and a lot of people gave me a lot of votes. And some of the answers surprised me actually a lot, but a lot of them really did not surprise me. So if you're interested in seeing the results of this poll, then stay tuned. And if this is your first time on my channel, thank you so much for stopping by. My name is Alithia, and on this channel we do talk mostly about perfume. If that is your thing, I would love if you would subscribe. Let us know down below before we get started, what is your most disliked perfume? I'm really curious to see if it falls somewhere on this list. So grab yourself a cup of tea because things are about to get juicy. No pun intended. So as with my last video, if you guys didn't see that one, I will link it down below for you, but there are a few in this list that I don't actually have in my collection, so I will do the same thing I did last time. I will insert a photo, tell you what the notes are, and tell you a little bit about the fragrance. So number 15 as the one of the most voted disliked perfumes, and I will go in order of least disliked to most disliked, is actually By the Fireplace from Maison Margiela. Now this one doesn't really surprise me. This is one I don't have in my collection. It's a really beautiful scent. It's a very realistic scent. It does smell literally like you are beside a fireplace and you're kind of roasting marshmallows, and there's like this toasted nut accord, and it's very cozy and very warm, and it's a beautiful, beautiful scent. But for me personally, it's something I would rather have in a candle form versus a perfume form. So that is why I actually don't have that one. Amazing scent, but just not something I would want to wear myself. So the notes that you have in By the Fireplace are cloves, pink pepper, and orange blossom. So there's a little bit of a floral component there. It's not all fireplace smell. There's also chestnut, guaiac wood, and juniper. And then there's also vanilla, Peru balsam, and cashmere. And so there is a hefty dose of vanilla, and I think that's why some people really like it. Oddly enough, By the Fireplace really didn't make it onto the most loved list very much at all, but it did get voted on the dislike list quite a few times. So the next one, and I almost feel kind of bad having to mention it because it's such an iconic fragrance, although personally it's also one I don't care for the smell of, but it is Shalimar from Guerlain. So not very surprising that this made it onto this list. This fragrance has been around for almost 100 years. It has a lot of history. It's kind of an iconic scent, and I have actually owned a bottle. I blind purchased a bottle, believe it or not, back in the beginning of quarantine because I needed to smell this iconic fragrance, and there was no other way for me to do so at the time. So this is a very citrusy, animalic, vanilla fragrance, I would say. It has a lot of citrus notes in the opening. It's a little bit powdery. It's very earthy. It also has leather, opoponax, civet, so it has a lot of those like animalic notes that don't always work with people. And I can see why it was a masterpiece and is a masterpiece in many ways and is incredible, and so many people used to wear it. I can see that it would have been a symbol of like luxury and very opulent in its time, but I think it's just these days a little too dated for a lot of us. So yeah, that is one that I definitely could never have actually worn. I just needed to see what it smelled like. So in the number 14 spot, we have Shalimar from Guerlain. Number 13 is actually not this exact fragrance, but this is the closest one I have to it, so I thought I would show you guys. It was Narciso for Her Eau de Toilette. So Narciso for Her is a beautiful fragrance, the one in the pink bottle, the one in the black bottle, both very, very beautiful. The poudre is absolutely gorgeous. The one in the white cube, stunning. The ombre one, really nice, but doesn't have very good performance. But it's really funny because as much as people seem to love that musky rose combination, an equal amount of people also seem to dislike it. So again, one of those scents that I think is very polarizing, because I know that Narciso for Her, the Eau de Toilette, is a lot of people's absolute favorite perfumes, but it seems that just as many people really dislike it. So the one that I have is the Rouge. Thankfully, this one actually didn't get a negative vote at all, not that I can remember. This one actually has quite a predominant powdery facet to it. It has a little bit of a lipsticky vibe, which is what I really like about it. So I really like this one. So if you are not really a fan of the Narciso for Her EDT or EDP, check this one out and see what you think. It might be your cup of tea, but maybe not. So yeah, that is our 13th spot, Narciso for Her, the Eau de Toilette version. So in our number 12 spot, we have Carolina Herrera Good Girl. Now, this one that I have here is the Good Girl Légère. I also have the Good Girl Supreme. I actually really like them. So it wasn't this particular one that made it onto the list, it was the original Eau de Parfum. I'm wondering if the people who don't like the Eau de Parfum do like this one or do like the Supreme, but it was that original Good Girl that people did not like. So the original Good Girl is very, very sexy, very bold, very dark. I can see why it would be sort of polarizing. I think an equal amount of people love it as don't like it. It's again a very strong scent, very powerful, very deep, a little bit powdery, sort of dusty smelling to me. And this one, the Légère, has some similarities to the original Good Girl, but this one is a little bit lighter and a little bit sweeter. It's not quite so heavy, it's not quite as complex. I find this one to be quite enjoyable, and I find it to be equally as sexy. So yeah, anyways, in our number 12 spot was the original Carolina Herrera Good Girl. Number 11 spot, this one probably won't come as a surprise. It was actually Viva La Juicy as a whole. The Viva La Juicy perfumes, whether it was the original, the gold, the noir, pretty much all the Viva La Juicy flankers made it an equal amount of votes, so I just threw them all together to be in our number 11 spot. So this one obviously breaks my heart a little bit, but not really, because you guys know that I absolutely love my Gold Couture. Not a huge fan of all of the other ones. I do kind of want to go back and revisit the original Viva La Juicy, just because it was such an icon for its time, and I'm just curious to see how it would go over these days with my boyfriend. I'm curious to see if it would become a favorite of his or if he would still prefer the Gold Couture. I'm just kind of like, what can I say? I like to do experiments. But this one is one of my absolute favorite, you guys, so I am a little disheartened, but I'm also not surprised that people voted it as one of their least favorite. I think people are just kind of tired of it, you know, and it was so popular back in the, what is it, was it early 2000s, mid 2000s, 2010, something like that. But I still really like it. I like it a lot. So you broke my heart, Instagram. You broke my heart. So that is our number 11 spot, the Viva La Juicy fragrances in general. In our number 10 spot, we have Tom Ford Tobacco Vanille. So this is a fragrance that I could see being quite polarizing, and I actually used to have Tobacco Vanille. I kind of had an obsession with Tom Ford back in the day, and I thought that all of his fragrances could go no wrong, and I really wanted Tobacco Vanille, but this was still very early on in my perfume journey, and to be honest, I like the idea of Tobacco Vanille better than I like wearing Tobacco Vanille, but I could see why this one would be very polarizing. It is a very sort of rich, slightly spicy, I think chocolatey, vanilla tobacco scent. It's also unisex. Personally, I think that the Tobacco Vanille goes better on men than on women. That's just my personal feeling. I would like to smell that one on a man 100%, but it's interesting that it actually got so many votes. Like, out of all the fragrances that they could have chosen, out of all the fragrances that could have gotten like downvoted, Tobacco Vanille actually got a fair amount of dislikes when I asked people what they didn't like. So I don't know, you guys tell me, are you a fan of Tobacco Vanille or not? In our number 9 spot, we have Black Opium and all of its flankers. So the original Black Opium was what got the most dislikes, but there were a few people who specified Black Opium and all of the flankers or all of its relatives. So yeah, it's really interesting to me that there's actually quite a few perfumes that made it onto the most loved list that also made it onto the most disliked list. And it just lets you know how polarizing some of these perfume viewpoints can be. And also, it's really interesting to me how many perfumes are so loved but also equally hated these days, and Black Opium is one of them. So again, this is one of my personal favorite loves, you guys. I'm glad that I'm not one of the only people who still loves it. I do have quite a number of Black Opium perfumes. I have this one, 2 of the flankers, and I also have the travel version of Illicit Green, which is the newest one, and I personally still am a huge fan of Black Opium. So let me know down below, do you fall into the category of people who still likes Black Opium, or do you really dislike Black Opium? And if so, why? I'm just wondering, is it because it's so overdone? Like, I probably should have asked people, why don't you like these perfumes? Is it because it's too mass worn, everybody has it, you're just tired of it? Because a lot of the perfumes that made it onto this list are some of the best sellers in history. So really, really interesting. I probably should have asked people to specify, why don't you like it? Number 8 is actually a little shocking, and it is Baccarat Rouge 540 from Francis Kurkdjian. That is a perfume that I did have, and I tried to love it for a long time. I thought that I did love it. I really, really liked the way that it smelled. It smelled very opulent, very rich, very refined, very sophisticated, beautiful scent. A lot of us know what it smells like, but there's also a lot of us, I think, that still haven't had an opportunity to smell it. If you don't live near a boutique that has it, or you haven't ordered a sample, I still get people writing me all the time and asking me if I think Baccarat Rouge 540 is worth it. And just because I do or don't like something, by the way, you guys, don't take that as anything. Obviously, as you can tell from this video, perfume is so subjective, and you really need to try it for yourself. But it doesn't surprise me that Baccarat Rouge made it onto this dislike list, because it is so hyped up, and it does tend to play a little bit of a disappearing act. I think people are a little bit disappointed when they spend the coin on a perfume like this, sometimes blindly. They're expecting it to be the be-all end-all, the most amazing thing they've ever smelled, and sometimes it can fall short of that after it's been so hyped up. It's also very different. It has a very luminous, sweet, burnt sugar nature to it that is unlike anything else, except for, of course, all of its dupes. And Cloud from Ariana Grande is also similar. So yeah. But yeah, it doesn't surprise me that it made this list. Let me know down below, are you a fan of Baccarat Rouge 540 or not? Number 7 is another classic that I don't have in my collection, and it is Chanel number 5. So I'm kind of sad to even have to report that. I don't know, again, you know, take it with a grain of salt. I feel like a lot of the people that follow me are probably in a slightly younger age bracket, and I feel like if you were to ask a more dedicated, mature population, a lot of them would say they really love Chanel number 5. Chanel number 5 is a classic. It's also been around for actually 100 years. I believe it was released in 1921, or was it 1923? One of the two. And it's a very strong aldehydic, powdery scent for women. Personally, I love Chanel number 5. The reason I don't have Chanel number 5 in my collection is because I didn't think I was going to wear it enough, and it was going to sit on my shelf and go bad. I wanted to have it just to have it, and I actually did like wearing it to bed sometimes when I wanted to feel a little extra bougie. It made me feel very glamorous. Not necessarily the most sexy perfume, not necessarily gonna make, you know, my partner go crazy or anything like that. Just a really luxurious, classy, sophisticated perfume that there is nothing like. It has a very specific scent. I'm not surprised it made it on this list, because it is a little dated, and it is a little too heavy and aldehydic, and just not a lot of people's cup of tea. So not surprising that it made this list, but also a little bit sad, because it is such an iconic perfume, and so yeah, it is a little bit sad. Number 6, and now we're getting into those really juicy, most hated perfumes from people. These are the ones that got multiple votes. So in our number 6 spot, we have Black Orchid from Tom Ford. Of course, we all knew this one was going to be on here in some capacity. It's really funny because it got very few love votes, but a ton of dislike votes when I asked people. So this perfume is iconic. I believe this was actually Michael Jackson's signature scent, which tells you everything you need to know about it. It is a very different, exotic, interesting, bold, out there fragrance, and a lot of people really like it, and it's one that I keep going back to and retesting. And I actually know that a few people prefer the Eau de Toilette over the Eau de Parfum. There's something about it that pulls me in, that I want to love and I want to have in my collection, but I just don't know if I would ever actually reach for it. So that's why I don't have it. And there's a lot going on in that perfume. There is truffle, gardenia, blackcurrant, ylang-ylang, citruses. There's more florals, there's spices, there's chocolate, there's patchouli, there's vanilla, there's woody notes, there's incense. Like, this perfume has a ton going on. It's one of a kind, it's very recognizable, but it's very polarizing. So I can totally see why it made this list. So that is our number 6 spot, Black Orchid from Tom Ford. In our number 5 spot, another one that I don't have. Thankfully, I actually don't have a lot of these perfumes that are on the dislike list, but it is Pink Sugar. Pink Sugar is such an iconic fragrance, but I definitely see why it's not on this list. Pink Sugar was actually my signature scent when I was about 22 years old, 21, 22, something like that. So that dates me a little bit, but I used to love pink sugar, and I know a lot of people still love pink sugar. There's actually, where I work, there is a woman who is very, very well educated. She's a specialist, and she wears pink sugar exclusively all the time, and this woman rocks it. And this is a woman who is very affluent and very, like, she looks after herself. She speaks immaculately. She's just the most classy lady, and pink sugar is her scent. And I think men still really like pink sugar, and I think there's still a lot of people out there who really like pink sugar. It is a very sweet cotton candy like scent. It's probably the, I want to say it's like the best in its class, you know what I mean? Like, nothing really compares to pink sugar. Nothing is quite as iconic as pink sugar. Everybody knows it. Everyone knows what it smells like. Super, super popular, very affordable, but unfortunately it has kind of had its day, and I think people are just really tired of it. So that's one that I have revisited a few times because I know it's a compliment getter, amazing performance, men like it. I've been revisiting it every 6 months or so, trying to see if maybe I like it again, but so far I haven't loved it. So I do see why it makes this list. It's just kind of like Black Opium. It's kind of like you either like it or you really don't like it. Number 4, you guys, number 4 is going to shock you. This is Cloud from Ariana Grande. Now, this also got a lot of hits on people's most loved. When I did my most loved video, this was one of the highest voted, and again, we're seeing a trend that some of the most loved perfumes can also fall into that category of the most disliked. Again, I don't know why people dislike this one. Like, personally, it's not a favorite of mine. The Dint that you see in here is from my daughter. This is actually my daughter's perfume. But as I've told you guys, if you're new here, I do keep coming back to it and revisiting it to see if it's something I like. But I don't know why people voted that they dislike this. Is it because they genuinely don't like the smell? Is it because it's too overhyped? Is it because they prefer Baccarat Rouge? I'm really not sure. But for whatever reason, this was pretty high up on the list. It got a lot of dislike votes. So this is a very creamy, milky, lactonic, kind of comforting, airy, light scent. There's whipped cream in here. There's coconut. There's orchid. I think there's even a little bit of lavender in here, if I'm not mistaken. You know, it's a really good scent. I don't love it yet, but I'm trying to appreciate it because I know so many people like it, and I know that it's a compliment getter, and I know that men seem to like it. My boyfriend really likes it. I actually have the Intense version, and I go back and forth between the two trying to decide which one do I actually like better. The Intense to me has better performance and smells even more close to Baccarat Rouge 540 than this one. This one's a little bit like airier and fluffier, and I feel like it's, oops, I almost dropped it. I feel like it's more light and fluffy compared to the Intense, which is a little bit more heavy and like that warm, cashmere-y, cozy, woody, whipped cream thing. But yeah, both of them are really good. I'm still on the fence, you guys. I feel like I'm slowly starting to really like this one, but let us know down below, are you a Cloud lover or are you a Cloud disliker? Number 3 on our list is La Vie Est Belle from Lancome. Not surprising, again. Interesting though, you guys, that 3 of the #1 best-selling perfumes of all time made it onto the dislike list. Chanel No. 5, Black Opium, and now La Vie Est Belle. I think this one, second only to Chanel No. 5, I think. This is the #1 best-selling women's perfume in all history. And interestingly enough, it was also the 3rd most disliked on this list. So again, let me know down below, are you team La Vie Est Belle or are you against it? So this fragrance, you guys, the reason I have a bottle is because some days I absolutely love this scent, and other days it is entirely too much for me. This is a very strong, kind of overwhelming, powerful, gourmand patchouli, essentially. It's a powdery gourmand patchouli. I don't remember all the notes off the top of my head, but there's iris in here. I think there's praline in here. It's just a very, it's just a very girly, powdery, heavy, kind of a gourmand scent. And this actually bears a little bit of resemblance, a tiny bit of resemblance to Mugler Angel. And I think it's just that scent category. Some people can handle the sort of gourmand patchoulis and some people can't. And this perfume, if you go light, I think is such a compliment getter. It's so classy and pretty, and it's just your quintessential pretty girl perfume. So I have this in my collection because I don't know, sometimes I really, really like it and other times I don't like it. So people have made fun of me because this is the third bottle I've had. Yes, I buy bottles of perfume over and over again, hoping that this will be the charm. This will be the time that it works for me. I try it in store. I absolutely love it. I bring it home. I'm not sure. I don't know. Yeah, it really depends. This is a perfume that really depends how I'm feeling that day, what light, what mood I'm in. Again, it's not surprising that it made this list. This is known to be a loved fragrance among a lot of guys. Apparently a lot of guys seem to like it. This perfume has been made really, really famous by a certain fragrance reviewer here on YouTube, but also it's just very, very strong and very overpowering. So I can see why it made it onto this list. In our number 2 spot, so many people voted for this perfume. I'm so glad I'm not the only person. I feel like people are scared to say they don't like it because it's extremely popular. And can I just say, as a side tangent, when you hear people hyping up a perfume that you hate, you feel like there's something wrong with your nose. You're like,
why does everybody else love this perfume and I can't wear it? Like, there's got to be something wrong with my nose.
And the perfume I'm talking about, you guys, is YSL Libre. Now, YSL Libre is a perfume I've told you guys I cannot handle. It just makes me nauseated. I don't know what it is about it. It's very, very strong. It's a super, super popular perfume. The bottle is amazing. I actually used to have this one and I used to have the intense version. The intense version was almost doable for me because it was a little bit more like heavy in like the vanilla, I think, benzoin component, whereas the original is heavier in that lavender component. But neither of them ended up working out for me. The eau de toilette, if anything, was even worse. It doesn't surprise me that it shows up on this list at all. This is a lavender, I think it's a lavender vanilla orange blossom, I want to say. So it does have this very powerful, almost masculine touch to it. It's beautiful. There's nothing quite like YSL Libre. Nothing smells quite like it. It's a very unique, bold fragrance with a great performance. Definitely smells, as you will hear people talk about it, saying it smells like a CEO, a rich woman, rich auntie vibes. It definitely gives that vibe. I loved it when I first got it, but I could not wear it, and it just makes me sick to my stomach. I don't know what it is. Not surprised it made this list. Also not surprised that so many people love it. It's just one of those polarizing scents. So in our number 2 spot, we have YSL Libre. And in our number 1 most disliked spot, we actually have a tie, and I do not have the other perfume, but we actually have Alien tied with Angel. Alien and Angel both got equal amounts of hate, and boy, did they get a lot of hate. Between Alien and Angel, it probably made up half of the votes. It was over and over again, Alien, Angel, Alien, Angel. So it's a little bit disheartening because, as you guys know, this is one of my favorite perfumes, but again, super, super polarizing. Not a safe blind buy, definitely one that you want to try. A lot of people say that you're either an Alien or an Angel girl. I think that there's a lot of people who dislike both, and there's a lot of people who actually like both. Alien is a very polarizing, strong, woody jasmine fragrance that I love. I love the way it smells. Angel is that heavy gourmand patchouli again. So they're very, very different. One of them is sort of like this bright, indolic jasmine that is just like kind of cold smelling, very confident. There's nothing patchouli about this. There's nothing gourmand about it. It's just a bold, stunning perfume in my opinion, very confident. Angel, on the other hand, is that like overtly feminine, sexy, patchouli gourmand combination that makes it so iconic. Angel is kind of similar to La Vie est Belle in some ways, so I think that's where the appeal comes from. Do men like it? I think so. I've seen a lot of male reviewers talk about Angel and say that the sillage from Angel is super, super attractive, but women seem to not like it as much. And at the same time, there's a lot of girls out there who love Angel. That is like their signature scent. They've worn it forever. Yeah, really interesting. But the two that absolutely 100% tied for first place without a doubt were Alien and Angel. So yeah, let me know down below, are you a Alien lover or an Angel lover, or do you dislike both of them? Interestingly enough, another perfume that got quite a few votes was Jimmy Choo, the original, which is again a gourmand patchouli. So I think people just if you like gourmand patchouli, you really like it, but if you have a problem with gourmand patchouli, you really have a problem, because that would be your Olivier Belle, your Jimmy Choo, your Angel, those kind of scents that are just that like sort of sweet, dirty, earthy. A lot of people don't like sweet, dirty, earthy. Enough of that. This one was in our first spot. Let me know what your thoughts are down below. And yeah, that's about it for this video. So that was it for today's video, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know down below if you had any similarities to these perfumes. Did you share dislikes with other people, or did you find some of them pretty surprising? And I will see you guys all very soon in my next video. Bye for now.